you, everybody. All right, so now we'll open it up for public comment. Is anybody in the audience like to make any public comment today? I don't see any public comment cards. Going once, twice. Okay, no public comment today. Thank you. Okay, with that, I'd like to be able to open it up right now for Kevin to be able to make a statement with regards to C&D recycling in the county. Kevin, you ready?
Yes, good morning. Sorry I couldn't be there in person. But we are having our commission meeting today and we're doing a reorganization meeting, which will be electing a new mayor. So sorry, that's why I couldn't be there, but it was suggested to me to make a couple opening statements today about C&D processing. As a county, as I and Mayor Furr have mentioned, the county have analyzed having C&D recycling out at the county landfill, the BIC landfill. And that's something that the county is still interested in pursuing. But one of the things that would help us in pursuing that is that if, if two things, one is if there was a clear ordinance that requires recycling, C&D recycling, something like the Lee County ordinance that has been discussed, or any that are part of Task 17 that SES has done, having that clear audience and some form of commitment to do that would make it worthwhile for the county to go forward and look at that investment that would have to be in that process. And, we'd have to talk about that. But I applaud the SWA for having this subcommittee. I do agree that C&D recycling would have, is a proverbial low-hanging fruit, but it needs to come with an ordinance that applies to all. I mean, and the county be prepared to pass such an ordinance. Well, I shouldn't say that. The county commission would be consider such an ordinance if it came recommended and the members of the SWA were all in supportive of it. That was my statements, and if you have any questions, be happy to answer.
Okay, real quick, any questions of Kevin? Okay.
Not at this time. Thank you very much.
Okay.
I appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Okay, Kevin,
And
thank you.
Have
Good
a good
luck.
day. Bye.
We're going to skip the meetings of the previous minutes until we get a quorum.
Yes.
So let's go on to item 5. Excuse me. Todd and I were over at Lee County on last Friday. We took a tour of their facilities. They have an extraordinarily good recycling rate for not only C&D, but for waste in general. Their C&D recycling rate is in the area of 90%. Ours here in Broward County is just over 30%. So we have a little room for improvement. Let Mr. Storty, our executive director, go into a little bit some of the details with what it involved.
Okay, great. It was a great tour with Lee County. They were very hospitable with regards to showing us around the site, giving a tour of the site. I do appreciate the county actually did come also. Thank you for participating in that tour last Friday. When we got there, we went through the various aspects of their program. They provided us a presentation. I will be distributing that to the executive committee and the governing board and putting that up online with regards to what their C&D commercial recycling programs consist of. And then they give us a tour. They gave us a tour of the facility. It's and as like other neighboring communities, that community, Lee County, they own all of the assets. They own the waste energy facility, the transfer stations. They've developed their own C&D recycling facility, along with being able to process the clean green yard waste to marketable compost that is very desirable in the community and the agricultural market around Lee County. First and foremost, though, with regards to the C&D program, it was originally stood up as they communicated, the C&D program was originally stood up with the ordinance that we've been talking about. Very similar to what we've discussed in the past with regards to the C&D ordinance, which was that with one other caveat, that it is not a deposit program. What it is as you pull a permit, as you go through planning, permitting, you'll go through a process and they'll give you information with regards to the residuals from each project on how to bring that to a certified recycler. When they started the program, there were no certified C&D facilities, so they opened their own. But over a period of time, each of the haulers, the processors in Lee County have developed their own C&D processing facilities. It's been around an 8-year process, but most of them have their own C&D processing facilities. And it's really transitioned what Lee County does at the landfill, at their processing site. Originally, they were brought in as the sole processor with the intent to be able to have that material go to other certified sites. And then over time, obviously, other C&D facilities were actually brought online. So they are actually in place not to compete against the other certified C&D facilities in the county. They're more of a C&D processor of last resort. Their pricing is a little bit higher than the third-party processors that are in the community. But it is provide in a number of the locations is logistically efficient. So instead of driving to some of the other third-party processors, it's much closer to drive to their facility. They have a very basic system, finger screen, trommel screen, sorting stations, air density separation, and they get out the wood, they get out the metal, they get out the concrete, they get out the asphalt shingles, and make a riprap from the 6-inch minus that's screened out of that facility for use as alternate daily cover up at their landfill that they manage. Now, with regards to the C&D processing facility of last resort, their pricing, again, is a little bit higher than the rest because that's not their business. They push the material to the third-party processors. The third-party processors obviously have efficiencies and do a great job. And they're not trying to compete against them. They're trying to make sure that the other third-party processors are able to stay in business. So it's a system that works for them. You bring your material to one of these processing sites, like I started out with that discussion. And at the end of the project, when you're going in to sign off get your final sign off for your permit, for your parcel, your tenant improvement, your building, et cetera, with some other caveats, you are asked to turn in your weight tickets. If you can turn in your weight tickets and they've gone to one of the certified recyclers, your permit gets signed off. If you have not brought it to one of the certified recyclers, meaning the C&D processor, sorry, and it's gone straight to a landfill, you then pay an additional environmental fee. It depends on the size of the project, obviously, but that's it. They make it that's as simple as they make it to be able to participate. They do give you guidance for new projects. If you would like their team to go out and look at the materials that are coming out of a project, whether it's a new project, a tenant improvement, they'll send an inspector out to give you guidance on where that material could go if you're having a problem. And that's really the extent of the program. It really is very efficient, and it was very easy for them to stand up once they banned direct haul of C&D going to the landfill. The other portion was with regards to the commercial recycling program. The commercial recycling program, they did pass an ordinance that each business that applied for a business license had to have commercial recycling. And then as part of that material it's the responsibility of the property owner or the tenant to contract with either the franchise hauler or a third-party recycler to be able to provide recycling services to your business. If you don't sign up for recycling services, there's some caveats for exemptions, et cetera, but otherwise that you are required to sign up for recycling services. And they have a couple of inspectors that go around to make sure that these new businesses are in compliance within 14 days after starting operation. And occasionally, depending on various complaints, they go out and make sure that the program's being followed. That's it. It's as simple as it's a very simple program. They've made it as simple as possible. I will be distributing the leaflets that they put out. We got back on Friday, and yesterday was very busy with the TAC meeting and then afterwards, but I will be distributing these to the executive committee members, the governing board members, and I will be posting these on site as part of the meeting minutes here today. Again, the facility was very straightforward. Their facility, like I said, it was minimal equipment, but they did a great job. They were able to, I think, divert over 70,000 tons of material annually away from the landfill or their waste energy facility at the C&D facility. Now, in addition to that, they did let us tour their yard waste, their clean green yard waste program. Again, there's a requirement by the residents, and they work with the franchise haulers to have the clean green separated, sorry, at the curb for collection. And the collection is done with a grapple truck, but the material has to be separated from the bulk. The material is picked up separately. It's brought to their facility. The clean green yard waste is brought to their facility. And at their facility, they have a contract for a third party to grind the material and then bring it out to and then after it's ground, that mulch is then brought out to their landfill where they have another contract out at the landfill for another third party to compost the material. And then as part of that transfer, when they bring out the ground material to the landfill, they bring back the finished compost for distribution to those residents or businesses that are in the area that come by and would like to I don't know if it was free, but or a very minimal charge to be able to take that compost. The compost looked beautiful. It was black gold, as they say. It was very rich. It was desirable. It was clean. There was no issues with it. There was no glass fractions or anything because they do not allow food waste into that program at all right now. They've made it very simple. They have a couple of contracts at the waste to energy or at the recycling facility that we went to, and then they have a kind of contract out at the landfill to turn that into compost. But it was really the only requirement was they had to work with the franchise haulers to separate the clean green from the bulk. Both get in that community, both of those piles do get picked up weekly. But once you separate the clean green and the bulk, obviously there's less bulk piles, all right, and that route is much more efficient. And they do a great job with it, and they've made it as simple as possible for the community and then how they are able to divert those materials. Did I miss anything?
I'm just going to go for a little more overhead view.
Okay.
One of the things that I noticed was that, well, first of all, they've got all their facilities, their incinerator, their C&D, they've got transfer stations, they've got separated machines, all on one campus. So we don't have that luxury here. But what we can do is we can emulate them for their organization. Things flowed very smoothly. There didn't seem to be any extra effort work. It would go from one station to another. And I think if we can emulate that, we can probably save a whole lot of money in the process. So I would be in favor of that. It was an impressive operation. Like I say, we can't copy them for having everything on one campus, but we can try to make a case for them with the simplicity of their operation and the organizational structure that we have. And for the record, Ms. Horland has joined us. Thank you. Okay. Did you need anything else?
No, I will be working through that, a small report. I'll be able to get that out shortly with regards to what we saw on the tour, along with the documentation that they gave us here later this week. But I thought it was very valuable. The county had great comments. I appreciate the county showing up on that tour with us. We all learned a lot, and we really, we saw a facility that and a program that was very, very simple to emulate. Granted that here in Broward County, we may not be able to have all the C&D operation that we do at that, next to the waste to energy facility. But we do have all the third-party processors that were presented at a couple of meetings ago that are willing and able to start C&D recycling right now, that have the capacity right now, that are just waiting for us to maybe move forward with regard to some ordinance to be able to stop that material going direct to the landfill. I think it's something that's very doable in the short term, and we'll be proceeding forward with that and continue that discussion here later today.
Yeah, and just also the Lee County facilities are public-private partnership. The county owns the facilities. They are run by private enterprise. So, and
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, the C&D was the only facility that they operated internally was their own C&D facility, but the composting operations, the grinding operations, the transfer operations, the material recovery facility, the waste to energy facility are all subcontracted operation agreements. They own the facility, and then they have a long-term operating agreement with different entities to be able to operate those facilities. Sorry.
okay, moving on. Excuse me. We're going to have a proposal from Mr. Deitch in a couple minutes regarding a C&D proposal for the county. We're going to pursue that very vigorously. One of the things that I wanted to do that I felt was necessary was that in the interim, until we can get a proposal in front of the executive committee and in front of the general committee for its approval so that we can efficiently move on it. Buildings are still being torn down. Construction and demolition is still being carted off to landfills and places we don't want it to go. It was my suggestion that we put out a letter to permitting departments from the different cities that would strongly suggest that contractors that are applying for a permit do a recycling program with the construction and demolition degree. There was a little hint there that something may be coming that'll be a little bit more rigid, shall we say, in the future. But so we will be putting out a letter to the community so that it can be distributed to those people applying for a permit where it makes sense. Again, somebody that wants to remodel a closet, that's not concerned, but for somebody that can make a difference, we're interested in having them look at recycling voluntarily, and then we will follow it up at a later date. At this point, sorry. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, we'll go back and look at the meeting minutes now that we have a quorum, and I will make a motion to approve. Second, and all in favor say aye. Aye. Okay. Okay. All right, Mr. Deitch.
Morning, Chair, members of the committee, Executive Director and Council. Daniel Deitch with SCS Engineers. I believe in your agenda package was a proposal that we prepared for your consideration. It has a similar look and feel to the other proposals that we've submitted to the authority over the past few years. There's a project management element, really the connective tissue for all of the work that will occur. And it's really broken into two phases or two different paths. One is focusing on construction and demolition debris management, developing the ordinance and the framework, and then moving into the implementation of that, and then a similar approach for mandatory commercial recycling. Similar to other proposals, there's also a contingency task for any unforeseen or additional services that you may want us to engage in. That work does not occur without authorization from the executive director. So we commend this committee and the authority for focusing on these two areas because, as was stated by the representative from the county, and we've heard around this room at various meetings, construction and demolition debris really is low-hanging fruit. It's very heavy material. There's adequate infrastructure in the county that can manage it, and all that it requires is a regulatory framework so that we can activate that. Similarly, for most communities, recycling is part of the services offered to the single-family homes and multifamily properties. Businesses are typically outside of those franchises. Throughout the state of Florida, around the country, many communities have enacted mandatory commercial recycling ordinances. It is the not so invisible hand of government encouraging businesses to do the right thing. What we have seen, particularly in Florida, is a crawl before you walk, before you run approach, where generally a single material can be identified and selected by the business to start the process, to prime the pump, if you will. And again, there's ample infrastructure within the county that can manage this material, but we need to get it there. And with a little urging from the authority and from the governments, from the ILA communities, we know that we can start to move the needle on the commercial recycling stream as well. So I can go into more detail if you like, but really like to entertain any questions that you may have.
Real quick, just for clarification, that, we're looking at something similar to what we've already seen in the master plan or one of the task papers. We're not trying to recreate the wheel. Other communities in Florida are already doing these types of programs, and we're trying to see if we can take the best parts of those other programs and put them into, apply them here in Broward County. And we really want to be able to provide a very simple system that works. We're not going to try to do a Hail Mary pass all the way to the end zone and go after everything. But again, I think, and Dan, who did a good job of explaining this, is, let's go after what we know is possible. And a commercial program, biggest thing is going to be fiber, cardboard, fibers, those materials. Maybe just work through something that's incremental at first, and we can look at that as part of the proposal, where we just develop a program that it starts with a diversion of the cardboard and the fiber materials. And then as we get more experience and be able to work through that, then be able to, over a phased period of time, be able to add in other material streams. But we have heard from the industry that was here months ago, that they have the capabilities to do this already. They can do this commercial recycling already. They have the lines, the material recovery facility lines, the conveyors, the capacity to be able to do this already. And they want it. They want the C&D recycling facility, some diversion or ability to move that material away from the landfill. And through an ordinance or some other mechanism, we can help move that material away from the landfill and to their facilities that they've asked us and told us they're ready for that material. We just need assistance in getting it to us.
If I may, just to pick up on a point, and I appreciate you making it. The master plan identifies pathways to get to the outcome that we've set as our goal. And there often is a frustration, right? We can plan and plan and plan. When are we actually going to do something? These initiatives were identified in the master plan, and this proposal is to take that concept and move it into action. And I think that's going to be important, not just for the authority, but for the communities that will benefit from all of the recommendations in the master plan.
I get one more comment before that. If something does unfortunately happen to Solid Waste Authority and it doesn't get through all the different approval processes by August of next year, these programs, the C&D program, the commercial recycling program, they're done on a local level. These can move the material, no matter what happens with the Solid Waste Authority. Each individual community can implement these, and we can start moving that material out of the waste stream. So it's going to be a benefit no matter what happens to the Solid Waste Authority going forward. Us working through this proposal with SES to help develop the various templates and ordinance and game plan and phased approach is going to be beneficial to the community going forward no matter what happens. And that's something I did want to be able to express because we want to be able to show that there is value, that we have been able to assist with certain things. Now, I do believe, obviously, the master plan has a number of items in that for looking over the 40-year time frame there. But these are simple things that should have been done probably years ago. And we've been able, and would have saved a significant amount of landfill airspace that currently we still are plowing everything into the hill or bringing it to the waste energy facility. Moving these materials out of the waste stream creates local jobs. We can help be able to create more jobs in the community by diverting these materials. And again, this is something that no matter what happens is going to be beneficial to the community going forward. Okay, sorry. I'm done.
That's all right. No, thank you. Thank you for your input. Are you familiar with any other organization that is doing this via an ILA, interlocal agreement between the cities?
That's a great question. Not that I can think of, but that doesn't mean that it's not the case. So let me jot down the question and get a response back through the executive director.
Okay, because it does challenge us a little bit for coordination efforts and, approvals.
Yeah, and I agree, but that's one of the themes of the master plan is harmonizing services so that there's consistency, regardless of where you live in the county. The information is the same, the compliance is the same. And that is something that we consider one of the key success factors of the master plan.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions, comments? Is there informal? Anyone in the gallery has any question or comment? Feel free. Yeah, come on. Come on up to the microphone, please. And just quickly state your name so we're.
Okay. No, I was just, in the beginning of the meeting, it was mentioned that in order to proceed to start to work on a C&D ordinance at the county level, we need full governing board approval. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, is that going to happen this week?
We'll see. We have to have a quorum for these meetings. So that's always sometimes of a challenge.
Is that going to be on the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, if it's approved here, yes.
The other question.
Just so we're clear on that, the proposal from SCS, if it's approved here, recommended here today, that'll be discussed Friday at the executive committee. And depending on if we have the governing board, that'll be also reviewed with them. But as far as being able to move forward with an ordinance, that's in development. And that
You
would
do
not,
what?
if moving forward with a C&D ordinance, that is something that is obviously part of this proposal from SCS right now to develop. We would be looking for approval of SCS's proposal to develop that, and then that would be brought to the executive committee and the governing board early 2026.
Okay, so this is not going to happen on Friday. No, not yet.
Hopefully Friday, from the executive committee, we get approval to proceed forward with the SCS proposal to develop the game plan.
I had another question about your visit to Lee County. The green and clean yard waste. How did they make sure there was not contaminated? Did you get into that detail where you see how they take a look at everything at the curbside, or did they take a look at it once they bring it to a central place?
Both. If it's mixed out at the curb, they actually have a method where they tag the material and have somebody go out and actually talk to the homeowner.
Okay.
And then to get that separated. In addition to that, when the material is delivered to the initial compost or the initial process organics or yard waste facility, they have a number of different personnel that go through the pile to help clean that up before and make it clean green before it's taken over to the grinder or out to the compost.
So they
facility.
do
So
it
it's a
twice,
couple of
once
different
at the
places.
curbside and another at the
Yes,
site.
that's correct.
And
To
so
make
they
sure
haven't
that
had a contamination issue that you know of.
They produce a high quality material.
Okay, thanks.
Morning, Louis Pineda with Florida Waste Haulers and Recyclers Coalition. This morning's rhetoric was very encouraging, but I do have some questions. First question is it my understanding that SCS has to develop the ordinance for C&D?
They're helping us develop draft framework to be able to talk to the executive committee, the governing board, and the local municipalities about their own program along with what would be with the county.
So now my next question would be, why does this have to go that route? We submitted, the Florida Waste Haulers and Recyclers Coalition submitted a draft ordinance. Now, our attorney reviewed it and was happy with it. We felt that the county attorney should then look at it and put their input. And it does not mean that it should be accepted the way we proposed it, but we think it was a good proposal. As I've mentioned previously in other meetings, we have offered assistance. We've been at this for several years now. And it just keeps getting kicked down the road, kicked down the road, kicked down the road. Right now, today, it seems like it's further along than it ever has been before. But once again, why are we getting roadblocks? We have an ordinance. Let's submit it to the county attorney. Let them look at it. Let the Board of Commissioners do what they have to do. Let's pass the C&D ordinance, get this resolved once and for all. Start getting this material out of the landfill. The second thing that I saw today was Mr. Kelleher was talking about developing a C&D MRF at the landfill. There's nothing wrong with that. But A, why do we have to spend all this money? B, let's utilize the facilities that are already in place. And C, let the landfill, not only the Broward County landfill, but Monarch Hill, accept only residual material. Once again, until we have a ordinance in place, this is not going to happen. So once again, we're putting bulky material in the valuable landfill space.
Great points. That's okay. Sorry. Great points. With regards to the process, all right, it's not, we would love to be able to just, take your proposal for an ordinance and run with that. But that's going to be part of the analysis, that proposal that you turned in to both the executive subcommittee here and other members, and including the county, in our development of the game plan. It's not just with regards to the ordinance, but how do we actually implement that? How do we make sure that we get other input from the cities, the local, various local entities, legal teams, and then develop that phased approach. Can we do that in short order? Yes, but we've asked for a proposal from SCS to help us with that, because you did mention on the second part that to be able to use the current facilities that are out there, be able to use the current service providers. We want to do in sometimes glacial pace of government, but we need to make sure that we've analyzed it correctly and provided all the information to not just the county, but to each of the member cities, so that we've taken into account their thoughts, their challenges as we develop this plan forward. But we do believe we can get that done in short order, but we have asked for a proposal from SCS to help us develop that. And then again, develop, not only take your proposal for a C&D recycling ordinance, but analyze what other communities already have for their C&D recycling ordinance, so that we can develop the best hybrid material for the county and the cities here in Broward County.
I might have a tendency to simplify things, but if we take the state ordinance, which says where economically feasible, all material must be processed prior to disposal. So we take the state ordinance. The county then takes, forget about our language that we wrote. Let's put that out of the picture for right now. The county takes that language and writes an ordinance that follows that state statute. There is no more cities. It's no more. It's simple. No material goes into the landfill unless it's been processed. The material has to go someplace to be processed, and you got 10 facilities to process. So where is the complication?
I don't believe there is a complication, but we need to go through the process here and get authorization from the subcommittee, side the executive executive committee and the governing board, along with those negotiations with the county to make sure that we're moving forward in a path that everybody is accepting too.
And first of all, I think you can see that we're trying to get through this process. There are steps. There are steps that we have to take. And as we just talked about, we've got 28, 29 cities that have to go along with this. So we want to develop something that's going to be in accordance with them. I don't expect everybody's going to be rah-rahing out there. There may be some things that they don't want. We need to address those so that we can get everybody on board with this and be as efficient as we can possibly be. In the meantime, we are going to hopefully move forward with this so that we can start it. And, as I mentioned earlier, as little as it is, we've already done something to put out notification to people, to builders, contractors, please recycle. It gets it in front of their face. It may not be something that they're going to pay attention to at this point, but it is something to alert them this is coming. So we are moving forward with this, and hopefully we can get this done this week, again, with quorums, and we'll move forward.
Mr. Commissioner, do you see any city not wanting to recycle the C&D? You said we have to get the cities on board.
It's not a question of not wanting to recycle. It's a question of how is the best way to do it. It's a question of what are the city's ordinances? What are their feelings about it? You're going to have people out there, trust me, that don't want to recycle. They think it's too much work. They think it's going to be a taking away of energy. So we want to address those.
And the other question I have is, if somebody were to pull up to the landfill with a load of unprocessed material, and we're told you cannot dump that, you must take it to a processor, here's a list of processors. We suggested, as Lee does, they're notified at the time of the permit that they have to process the material. So that should eliminate most of the problem. But let's say somebody does pull up to the landfill with an unprocessed load, and they said, sorry, we don't take that. Here's places you can go to take it. Doesn't that solve that problem?
I don't know if it solves the problem. I think it is a solution.
Okay. That's all I got.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chair, very quickly, and Louis, thank you first of all for providing the ordinance as we requested at the last meeting. And that was going to be my question, actually, when we got down to item 9, when we start to talk about legal and looking at that ordinance. My understanding when I looked at Daniel's proposal was that it wasn't necessarily they were going to be writing our ordinance because we have a framework, but more about implementation. Is that correct?
Yes, and we do intend to go a bit beyond. And if I may, I'm going to try to
Okay,
answer
sure.
2 questions at once.
Mhm.
And Mr. DeVita, thank you very much for your remarks. And you're absolutely right. One activity is banning direct disposal. Much of the work is focused on the program, the education, the implementation, the oversight, achieving compliance, and answering the question. You've been to enough of these meetings over the past year and a half. We need to be able to answer to each ILA member, what does it mean for them? Because there are elements of the program that are going to create new work for each municipality, and I can look in the crystal ball and be reasonably certain that folks will say, well, what does it mean for us? What are the staffing requirements? What is the additional cost? What is the role of the authority versus each municipality? So I can see how you can frame it as it's simple, and in some respects it is, but there's still some wrapping, some package that needs to go around it in terms of educating the building community, even homeowners that are engaging in larger scale projects, so that they understand how to comply, the why of the program and how to comply.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, but I agree with the letter that you put out and the list of the providers. That's something that we can do immediately without the ordinance. I think that needs to go forward as quickly as possible so that we can get started. Thank you.
Okay.
If I could just add one more point. We are going to be relying and working very closely with legal counsel. So as we have done in similar activities, we provide the technical input in feedback, and we rely on the legal professionals to actually draft the legal language.
All right, thank you. Okay, are we going on to 8? Okay, item number 8. It looked like
Sorry, I just wanted to go through this real quick. Now, it was brought up during the industry presentations with regard to the county disposal ILA and a number, and being able to work within that framework of the county disposal ILA. We do have the county ILA agreement and a number of the amendments, and we're reviewing them with legal and the county right now to see if there's a path forward to be able to take not only the C&D material, but the commercial recycling material that is somewhat committed to each city that is signed up with the county disposal ILA, and see if there's what options are available to be able to take that material and recycle it or repurpose it. That's in process right now. I left it here on the agenda to state that we are looking at that, and we're going to be talking with the county and having our legal solid waste authority legal and the county's legal team start working towards consensus on how we can actually move that material from final disposal, whether it's the landfill or to the waste to energy facility, to these recycling facilities. So more to follow on that.
I think we need to actually vote on the SCS proposal to move it out.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry.
Right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
All
all
right,
right.
excellent. Then the proposal is that the SCS proposal be moved to the executive board for their approval additional. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Love it when it's unanimous.
We'll have that on Friday's agenda.
Legal?
Real
Okay,
quick,
Lori?
Lori.
Yes, the next order of business is discussing the draft ordinance. That, as you know, there's many different ways to accomplish this, but we would like to, when directed by the executive board and the governing board, we will be working with Daniel and the county to process a ordinance, not only for the county, but for all of the municipalities to take into consideration as well. So we will assist with the legal counsel and talk to each of the city and local government attorneys for each of the cities, how important it is to, to get these ordinances passed by their municipalities. So we do it in unison.
Thank you. Next, we have a schedule for the C&D Commercial Recycling Program timeline. I don't know if you need to go over that or not.
I think it hasn't changed really since the last meeting. I leave it on there to give us a driving force that we're trying to stay to a schedule and try to work this thing through. It was brought up at the TAC meeting yesterday that the timeline may be a little aggressive, and we need to get a better understanding of that and why they believe that this proposed tentative phased-in approach is aggressive. It is something that the TAC committee yesterday asked to discuss further at another TAC meeting that is going to be held on December 15th. So we will be going through that with the TAC committee on December 15th, along with the proposal from SCS, and to be able to get their input and understand further their challenges and what they believe is an appropriate phased approach and timeline to be able to bring C&D recycling and commercial recycling to the county and each of the member cities.
Okay, thank you. So the SCS proposal will be before the executive board at this meeting on Friday, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So it will be on Friday that this board will be that this procedure will be voted on. And is there any other business to come before the board? Then I'll have a motion to adjourn.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, everybody. And we'll see you next month. Now, I believe next month's meeting is in the afternoon because this room is full. Is that correct, Lisa? All right. So just as an FYI, the meeting is, I believe, but it's upstairs in the hearing room again. like the E&O meeting was there a couple weeks ago. And it's in the afternoon because the meeting, the hearing room was full in the morning. 2:00, correct. Thank you. Oh, no, we have all kinds of things going.